Heyo, here we go.
All right, everybody, welcome to the third part of the podcast.
And this section is going to be all about, this little category section is going to be all about gaming. Something that flashed me. I don't know anything
beyond the Atari 2600?
Yeah, I was an Atari guy back in the day. Jungle Hunt, remember Pong?
Hey, I tested it out one time in a game shop. I had fun, and then that's way before my time.
Pac-Man was my jam.
My mom's favorite game is Miss Pac-Man. You know
I can still remember, I went up to a donut shop. It's in Lyndhurst. It's gone. You know, I grew up on the east side of Cleveland. Anybody watching this, if there's anybody watching this, there was a donut shop on the corner of Mayfield and Richmond. It was called Amy Joy Donuts. I can remember my dad would give me a quarter. I would stand on an orange chair because their color scheme was like orange and blue. And I would play Pac-Man for hours. That's how that's how he babysat me. So I babysat with Pac-Man, and then I graduated to Miss Pac-Man because I had a thing for the little pink bow in her hair. So maybe that's what did it.
I have Miss
when I was a
Pac-Man
younger man. It was Miss Pac-Man that led me astray in my love life, which we'll get to another episode. But I mean, there was a big thing that took place in the gaming industry. I mean, all kidding aside, the Switch 2 came out in June, correct?
Yep.
And he's got it. I want you to tell me, what are the differences between Switch 2, Switch 1, and why this is such a big deal, for people that do gaming like you do.
I think the best thing I can do is start off where Nintendo originated, and then how far we come
walk
up.
me through. That's interesting.
So
I don't know anything about Nintendo or any of the other players.
Well, the original Nintendo, the NES, where it had the Mario Bros. And
the Legend of Zelda,
and stuff like that. That started on there. Then you had the Super Nintendo, the SNES. That just continued on.
I played the original Legend of Zelda. That was my Nintendo experience. That's how long ago. Yeah, I played it at a kid's house. His name was Dan White. He stole my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm still upset about that. I didn't forget. I'm going to hunt you down. I know you're still living in Cleveland. You're a landscaper or something. Big time. Yeah, get out of here. So, Goodness. Anyways, I digress. So let's go back to the Switch.
So the Super Nintendo just continued from the formula. Actually, shout out to Peripheral. My buddy Abe made a YouTube channel called Peripheral, originally Planet Abe, and he actually just touched on why Nintendo, how the Switch 2 is pretty boring. That's exactly what Nintendo.
Love Abe. Abe's a good dude.
He is a good dude.
Yeah, we're gonna have him on.
Oh yeah. By the way, stay tuned. He and I will have a debate in the future regarding the future of artificial intelligence, the future of AI. So stay tuned.
I can't wait for that.
I can't wait either. And you're going to learn from it because you're going to hear from completely opposing sides.
Correct.
But you are going to learn a lot. Again, that's the point of the show. So anyway,
I'm going to drink a lot of alcohol for that one. That's going to be entertaining, ladies and gents.
Bring some fireball shots.
Yeah, anything.
So whiskey.
Moonshine.
Ugh, moonshine, man. People will pay big
money.
Little
hillbilly moonshine, never hurt anybody. It's like rubbing alcohol. It's good for your wounds, good for your belly.
So anyway, the Super Nintendo, did its thing. And then you move your way to the Nintendo 64, which hence the name. It's because it was 64, I'm going to butcher this, but 64 blocks, 64 bits. That's because it was their introduction to 3D models and stuff like that. So they still maintained the cartridge formula, but it was better graphics. And then games like Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time completely changed the gaming landscape.
Right.
And a lot of games without that game would not exist today. So the N64 was very popular and very well loved. And shout out to my girlfriend. She actually gave me her old N64 because she thought it would be better in my hands. Now she's playing it. Now she's playing her same console at my place sometimes, and also playing the same game.
Shout out to Morgan. She's my BFF.
And she's my girl. Love you, sweetheart. And
I love you too, sweetheart. Wait a minute. What? Son of
Inside joke. You guys would
Inside
have to.
joke.
You guys would have to be there.
Yeah.
So then
You'll
they
learn in
went.
later episodes.
So then they continued on. Now I'm not very good with some years of Nintendo, but in the middle of that, like in the middle of the N64, you had the Game Boy. You had the Game Boy.
I remember that.
And then the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy SP, and so on and so forth. And then in 2001, you had the GameCube.
Remember that?
Beautiful system, still to this day.
Never
my favorite
played
is.
it, but I remember it. Yeah.
It's a great console. And then you had the Nintendo Wii. Oh, I'm sorry. You had the DS, the Nintendo DS, which is another handheld. Then you had the Wii. Then you had the 3DS, the Nintendo 3DS, the Wii U, and then the Switch, and then the Switch 2. I'm just kind of like scalping all over that. And the reason why the Switch is a big deal and why people like the Switch 2 just say, or in some cases more, is it popularized what the Wii U was trying to do, which was trying to be a portable and a TV console.
Gotcha.
And people can say what they want about the Wii U. Now, I still have my Wii U. It's a nice console. There are games on there you can play that you cannot play on other platforms. Is it anything to brag about? Probably not. But the Wii U started a concept that the Switch one perfected, which is having a portable and a TV console. Like right now, the Wii U, I couldn't do what I'm doing right now. I can take this somewhere and play it. The Wii U, if I just had like the gamepad that you can play portably, you could not do that with the gamepad because you had to be near the console for it. That's not the case with the Switch One. You
Makes
can
sense.
just, put it on the dock, connect to your TV, take it off the dock, and then play it this way. And whatever. So the Switch 2 is a continuation of the Switch 1. And instead of just playing that, I'm probably going to speak some foreign language to you, but playing at like
women do that all the time. Go ahead.
Consider your last trip. I understand that. But
Literally.
you can you only play it at like, again, this will be foreign language, like 30 frames. So like when a game runs really fast, that means like 60 frames or 120 frames.
Gotcha.
But if you're, excuse me, I'm sorry, and you only play at 30 frames, it might run fine, it may run well and smoothly, but it doesn't mean it runs at a faster rate. So like, I would have to show you a game for comparison.
Yeah.
But the difference between the Switch 1 and the Switch 2 is this supports 60 to 120 frames per second, and the Switch 1 only supports like 30 frames unless it's a first party. Then in some cases they play at 60 frames. And internal storage for the Switch 1 was 32 gigs. The internal storage is 256 gigabytes. Now, on the surface, and in some ways that is better. Other cases, it's almost no different considering the library that you have for the Switch 2, that half of them, or at least most of them, take up storage. Hence, something I mentioned to you yesterday, which was the key cards. And that's why there is a controversy in the gaming market right now of gaming ownership, property ownership, and whether we really own games or is it just an illusion.
Correct.
So imagine, Fletcher. Now look.
Yeah, elaborate a little bit on that because that I found that fascinating when you were describing that.
So you're a DVD person, right?
Yeah. Like if I like a movie, I don't have an extensive collection, but if I really like the movie, I'll buy the DVD. Well, I'm a kid of the 90s, so that's what you would do. Totally different universe now, right or wrong. I mean, people just download something. So I actually like being tactile and having the physical DVD in your hand. You can look at it and, put the DVD in. It's a little different. Different strokes, different folks. I get it.
Well, I got a question for you then. So imagine if you got the DVD for Ballerina. Let's say you got the DVD, the Blu-ray, whatever.
Correct.
And you put in your DVD player, and for some reason your DVD player supports internet in some way. And you find out only, and I'm going to be very charitable when I say this. Trust me, this is super charitable with what I'm doing. You only had 90% of the movie data on it, and you had to download the last 10%. I want you to tell me honestly. There's no right or wrong answer. What would you say?
There isn't a right or wrong answer. That would not make any sense to me at all.
Well, unfortunately,
no sense. Because it's like if you buy something,
yeah.
you should own it as your property. You purchased it, but it doesn't seem it's that way in the gaming industry. And I want you to elaborate more on that, like moving forward, because it seems like strange to me. Like, why would they do that?
So for the last...
Is it a control thing?
So that's part of it, but the last decade or so, actually some people would even argue, since the 80s, I think Nintendo or Sega tried to pass like a digital service, and I think it flopped. But for the last like few decades, like 20 years, they have tried to move to more of a digital format permanently. So they start out when you say you can buy your games digitally. And then it got to the point where when PS4 and Xbox One came out, you had to install your games. Now, during that time, you did still own your games. Most of the data was on the disc. I think the remaining data would be like a day one update that they would need to install or something like that. Gotcha. You still were able to play it. And even some PS5 games do it, and some Xbox Series X games do that, which is the most recent Sony and Microsoft consoles. But the bigger controversy is when games like Star Wars Jedi Survivor, where it only had 3 gigs out of a 90 gigabyte game, and then I'm just going to fast forward to the Switch 2, where if you disregard Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is coming out in 2 weeks, and a third-party game, Cyberpunk 2077. By the way, Keanu Reeves is in that one, so just a little reference some of you might appreciate.
Ooh, that's a little tease.
Yeah, so I'll just show it to you.
In the gaming world. Wow.
So if it's not those 3 games, you get a game that comes with something known as a key card. And you probably have wondering, Nick, what is a key card? Well, it's funny you asked, Fletcher.
I was going to ask that, by the way. What is a key card? But you took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah.
So a key card is when you buy a physical game in a store, but if you see a box art that says game key card, unfortunately, that is, hence the name, it is a key to unlock the opportunity to download the game from the Nintendo servers. So essentially, unless you're connected to the internet, like right now, if you were to hand me a key card for, what's a good example, Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, and I just pop it into this bad boy right here. Oh, I'm not connected to the internet. I can't play it. That is the majority of the Switch 2 library, and why I have a big problem with the way and look, I know the things are going to progress the way they are, but that's the market we're dealing with right now. That's why I'm really surprised movie theaters are still around, that they just haven't moved to a movie theater streaming service only.
That seems, I don't know. There's just an element that it just doesn't seem, I don't know if the right word's fair, but it doesn't seem right. It's just like, you buy something, it's yours. You own it. But what do I know? The gaming industry, well, everything could move in that direction, and it is kind of at a snail's pace in some industries, and the faster, rapid pace in other industries. And it seems like gaming is going there quicker.
So. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, and I'm glad you asked me about this, is I think this comes back to property rights. Like, imagine that you could never own a house again. You had to rent. But this is going to touch on our next topic. I think our next topic is like more politics, but mainly like the current world of politics, like whatever. Yeah. But this maintains property rights. If I don't own a game, that's just the beginning of not owning my own property. Imagine they said, "Oh, you will actually." That's where the saying comes from. Ubisoft, another gaming company, that says, you will own nothing and be happy. And that's what they're trying to do with gaming and other form of media. Eventually that's going to pertain to...
I don't dig it.
Houses.
No. I'm not buying that. So I'm not buying a Switch 2. How do you like them apples? So,
I'm okay with having a Switch 2, but I will say this is the last console I'll ever buy. Alright, guys, that concludes this episode.
And we'll see you for part 4 in a couple seconds. Good to go.
All right. Thank you, guys.